For me, the most important part about nutrition is how we use it to power runs and how it's one of those major strategic choices we've got left as runners that there are not many of that provide a big improvement. So you can go out and you can do balance work, or you could go out and maybe improve your strength training, or you could go out and do particular types of runs like speed training, stuff like that. A lot of those they're graded in terms of how much impact they'll make on your running, and it depends what your outcome or your goal from running it is. If you've got an improvement in a race time, for example, that you want to achieve, then maybe speed work might be more beneficial than doing another thing. One thing that took me a long time to get to my head around and to understand a little bit about was nutrition. I left it for years in my training before I really sat down one day and thought, wow, what can I do to get that elusive extra few minutes or half an hour or whatever it was that I was trying to improve on a long, day-long race. And I'd been running this particular race for quite a number of years, about 4 years at that point, doing all right, and thinking, how do I get down? How can I sort of shave minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes here or there off the time? And then started to apply that. That took me 4 years to work that out. And then you think, well, why does it take so long to work out that something so big, a strategic choice like this, can make such a huge impact? Why did it take me that long? But I'm trying to touch on today a sort of overview of nutrition and to try and give you some bits, some pointers, some useful information, some info from studies that's been done. They'll give you a clue as to why it's worthwhile giving it a little bit of thought, and maybe when you're coming up to a park run or a race, why it's important to not only have a training plan and have a recovery plan, like I talked about in the last session, but also have like a nutrition plan as well. What over the course of the day, because it's all day with nutrition, it's not just the bit that we're running in. What am I doing across my day, across my week and month and so on, of my whole training period, that'll actually be really beneficial. If you get it right, then it can be a massive performance boost, a really, really big performance boost. It's a big area of strategic choice and we shouldn't leave it a chance. So I've tried to split this down. I've got some overall headings to start with before we go into the usual areas of questions which runners want to know. What do we do before a race? What do we do during it? What do I do after it to recover properly? But before we get to those three sort of meaty bits, that's the first running related meaty bits. Before we get to that, I wanted to touch on racing weight, diet and dieting, same thing. I wanted to talk about concepts of nutrition and carbs, fat and protein. So racing weight, first of all. I wrote this down last minute because this is in my book. Let's have two imaginary runners. Well, I've runner X and runner Y, and they are both twins, the same body shape, the same running skills, they've been running for exactly the same amount of time, they follow exactly the same plan, and they're pretty much the same sort of pace, speed, they do the same runs. There's one difference between runner X and runner Y. Runner X is 10 pounds heavier than runner Y. So not a great deal of weight, it's nothing major, but if we imagine what their ideal racing weight would be, that runner X, is 10 pounds over that. So the reason I'm telling you this is to understand a little bit around why diet is useful, or why getting your racing weight right is useful. I wouldn't like to say that on the right hand. That 10 pounds is going to have an impact. In every mile, that person will be slower by 20 seconds. For a lot of runners, understanding what that is, trying to understand and trying to work it out can be challenging. So when we talk about diet and dieting, what I'm saying is not so much a particular way of losing weight or anything like that. I'm talking about either controlling calorie intake or some kind of calorie restriction, so that you slowly being the operative word, slowly and cautiously reduce that weight down. Not at any particular date, but to coincide with a particular high priority race date that you've got in mind. So all of the provisos and the caveats that go along with that, be careful about weight, all of that sort of stuff, and weight loss especially. Getting to that point and having it on race day, because you don't need to reduce weight all the time, not like that. So you see it in a lot of the elite athletes, and they've reduced their weight down markedly, and that's also that they carry less weight. And you also very rarely, I suppose sometimes you might, but very rarely, for example, you see them carrying or taking water as they're running around. They might not carry it, or they might not carry anything. They might just take a sip here and a sip there. They're prepared to dehydrate by X% as part of their plan to reduce the weight that they have. So that's an extreme example, I guess, but it's important to think about a whole host of different tactics and tools that you can bring to bear, should you wish to improve on what may be a particular race, one that perhaps you've been trying to tackle for a long time, or you think, you know, this year that's the race, it's the distance I've always wanted to run at. What is it going to take to get my very, very best performance out of my body? Thinking about weight loss and things like that, we inevitably come to the sort of the question around where is that weight loss from. We'd all like, I suppose, to reduce down a bit of the excess fat and either use that to power us if we can, or strip that down so that we're much more leaner and therefore able to run faster. There's a problem with that theory, and a problem with dieting, I suppose, more generally, is that when we ask our bodies to accept a decrease in fuel, or a decrease in calories, or whatever you want to call it, the body makes an assumption and makes a decision based on how much energy your body is using. So let's call the body the brain. So let's say the brain makes a decision, and what it does is it goes, right, where is most of my energy being used? And it's being used certainly for runners, it's being used in our leg muscles, but all of the muscle groups, that's where we need energy, because we're moving and we're doing things very often, apart from the brain itself and the other organs, very often it's mostly the muscle groups that are using vast reserves of energy. So I think what's happening is we're making a decision, or hypothetically at least, the brain sort of says, right, if I've got a reduced income stream of energy, then I want to make sure I can operate with that reduced income amount of energy. So calories go down, what can I reduce to match that reduction in energy? And what the body reduces is muscle. Very often it goes straight for the big powerhouses, the things that are burning energy all day long, your muscles, where you can reduce them and you require less energy. Therefore, you gain equilibrium again, you're matching the energy in, which is reduced, to the energy out, which is reduced. So, the takeaway comment is, thank you. The takeaway comment is that watch out for losing lean muscle mass, because it's cost you as a runner a lot to get. You know, all of those runs you've been doing, you've been slowly building that muscle up all of the time, and the body will strip it back at a moment's notice if it decides that the energy coming in has reduced. So not a place you want to be. So that's why I'm talking about a very careful and considered approach to weight reduction, so that you can mitigate that risk and you can fuel appropriately. So if you put the right fuel in, you're giving the body a more efficient working environment. You are also, of course, or you should be, monitoring your training plan so that it's considered and not excessive, either in increases in distance, we talked about this last time, or increases in intensity. Either of those can damage your progress. And if you're combining that with a reduction in energy going in as well, it can be quite dangerous.